This is Battle Night, y'all. We in here about to get into this special interview. Make sure y'all subscribe, like, and comment on the channel. We got a very special guest in the building. Somebody y'all should know about in battle rap, the history of battle rap. I'm out here actually in the Dallas area doing a very special interview. One of my best friends and close business partners I've been in the game with for a long time of battle rap. We got Suge.
Hello.
It's not official unless you got stamped by Suge.
Yes. Hashtag Suge stamp.
Yeah. So you'd like to introduce yourself and let people know who you are specifically. I know I didn't give a full description of who you are, but just let them know who you are.
For short, Suge. Long Suge Rothstein. Been in the battle rap culture for it's been like over 10 years now. Specifically Southern battle rap. I've traveled up north, had dealings pretty much everywhere, and almost with everyone. So yeah, been in this thing for a long time. Was a manager, a self-proclaimed A&R because it's all about development and making people better. And all around, just at one point a battle rap liaison, connecting people. But I wear many hats and not opposed to doing anything that's needed as far as whether it's being a manager or a liaison or organizer, event organizer, a shusher for people to hush at events, a side noter to add in random tidbits,
Right.
commentator, hoster, all of that good stuff, whatever's needed.
Great. So what got you started into battle rap? Like how'd you get your foot in the door before you got all these jobs?
So I used to watch Smack DVDs, so I knew of it.
Right.
Family's real big into hip hop, and then I found out that there was a league in Dallas. However, I wasn't going to events. I just heard about it, started watching YouTube videos, and that was when DFW Battle League was in its infancy. It's like the first year or two.
Right.
It was ran at that time by Nick and Hero. Hero hadn't went to the military yet, so they were still here kind of putting it together. It was at its rawest form. And then my big brother Deuce, shout out to Deuce. Deuce started rapping, and I actually went to a Houston battle before I ever went to a Dallas
And what was the Houston league that was?
I believe it was.
I know which one it is. I know the battle too.
I don't remember. It was Deuce versus Warner.
Deuce versus Warner on Battle Coliseum. Who was in the barbershop.
In the barbershop. Yep.
In R. Clark. The first time I met Suge.
Yeah, because Swab was hosting the battle.
Correct.
Yeah. Swab taught me really quickly not to tell people they choking in battles. Not when you standing in the front row. That was fun. The barbershop was raw. Like, I literally looked at him and was like, "Are you choking?" Love you, Warner, but what? Yeah. We had some learning lessons that night. But yeah, so I traveled down there, only female out of probably about 8 family members. And I love the energy. I had been watching it on DVDs and was like, ooh, okay. Got in the building and was like, ooh, oh, it's real. You can feel every ounce of the culture kind of seeping in while watching those battles. So I was like, okay, yay. And he was wanting to battle in Dallas, so his next battle happened to be in Fort Worth back when we were in Fort Worth. Was in Fort Worth, and once he got there, I naturally poked and prod, and I saw things going wrong with the event and was like, y'all need to do this, y'all need to do this. And quickly from that moment went from just being my brother's sister behind him to being kind of an event organizer and a trusted resource as far as like, I'm not unbiased and I don't hold my tongue, but I'm not disrespectful. So, yeah, it's kind of how we got our start. Oh, Lord, I ain't thought about that in a long time.
So,
I'm old.
I know about DFW Battle League. Shout out to DFW Battle League. Y'all had some great artists come out of there. What ended up happening to why DFW Battle League isn't what it is now?
I'll say a combination of a few things. So when it started out in its rawest, it was literally just people in the city wanting to have their own slice of hip hop. So wanting to put on battle events in a local area that wasn't at the other league, which is Live from the Block in Fort Worth. Oddly enough, they started doing events in Fort Worth, so you were traveling to Fort Worth anyway. But it started out where it was homegrown, so it was homegrown. So it was our talent versus our talent for a very long time, and it was doing really well because we all had strong fan bases. Even the people that didn't rap, we had a lot of people that would come out. So we're packing out functions, and that is a really good way to start, but it's hard to remain consistent in. So we would have really, really, really big events, and we would have like 4 cards a year, and you'd have really good turnouts. It was a great time to see people, and then you would get to year 3 and 4, and you naturally want to start doing bigger things. So we did our first collab with Spit That Heat, where Trez came down, Milltown Blow came down, and it was a bigger venue, and it was a nicer card. It was dope, but it gave us a taste of battling people outside of ourselves, and it was cool, but it kind of put us on a track to where we kept chasing something different or chasing more, and we saw that we could make some money off of it. As far as battle rap is not that lucrative. I love people, but at a local level, owners take more L's than they do W's or even break evens. So we're putting on, when you're putting 3 or 4 cards together and everybody's showing out, it's beautiful. It looks wonderful. Most people will be inclined to keep doing that. So we went from 3 and 4 battle events a year to probably about 6 to 8. Or almost, I think one year we had 1 every month. And when you do that, you start adding to people's bills. So people are trying to figure out, do I want to pay you $30 again this month or $20 again to come to your card? And our people started growing, which with growth, if you don't have anybody to replace them, then you end up having less and less talent or less and less options. So people were starting to get bigger, like the Hayneses, like the Killers, like Street Hymns. All of our talent, who were extremely talented, were starting to get notoriety and starting to go other places, and were no longer as available for us. So we started grooming newer talent, but it wasn't like the original feel, and you could tell. So it kind of got to a point to where it was like, we're doing too many cards. Let's slow down. We did bigger cards, and they were nice. I don't know if you came to a card we had that was a 2-day card.
The Mayhem.
Yes. So we started having 2-day cards. We started getting kind of in the different lanes that we've been seeing other people do. And it was working, but it wasn't something we could hold up consistently. And our battlers, again, were not up to the same standard. And I think that at one point in time, our downfall might have been that we were treating them the same, like using the same model. Versus these are new people, this is what crowd they appeal to. So crowds started dwindling, and some of our regulars were still coming, but they just weren't as engaged. At the time, we were also still kind of rivaling with another battle league in the city, Live from the Block, which we're cool with. Uniquely, I am never I'm your biggest friend, but I'm the most honest person in the room too, because I can be your friend and still be their friend. So at that time, I was in the middle and could kind of see the difference of having that established crowd, and they had a much older crowd, but an established crowd and the amount of battles they were having versus what we were trying to figure out. And being in that situation, I got to see clearly that there were some people who wanted to support Dallas the Battle League, but their loyalties lied with Live from the Block. And not everybody is brave enough to be like, yo, I can rock with both of y'all and not have any biases. So we got to see a lot of a divide there as far as city-wise. And then just talent, we didn't have the big punch that we had. And we kept operating as if we did. And that was high-key our downfall. And then eventually it was like, okay, we're doing too much. We're having too much going on as far as events and different things like that aren't as successful. And I would much rather stop while you still have that good prestige versus continuing to go and see it run into the ground. Because even though I didn't start it, that was my baby. That was everybody's baby. And you want it to do well, but when you see that it's not doing as well as it should, at some point in time, you got to stop it. You can always do a comeback, which I think that would probably be the best way for DFW Battle League to come back, is to, which they have in certain ways, and I'm sure we'll get to that, but I think at this space, the league as a year-round league is probably done, the best would probably be comeback cards.
Okay.
Or like one large card a year.
Well, I see that, you was getting your experience with the DFW and, your local little other leagues and learning how to co-parent with other businesses at the time. Because I think when Deuce came down to battle in Houston, I was already in the mind frame, even back then, like, I got to reach out to the other leagues, tap in. Like, got to touch the other talent, got to let people know there's talent in other places, get your place in different faces. I do remember the animosity between DFW and Live from the Block, but I also remember when BC came up to battle Live from the Block. That's when I was trying to patch things up with DFW, and that's when y'all actually first came to y'all. I think y'all first Live from the Block event, because it was with Hero, you, and a couple of other people and stuff like that. So after DFW, you transitioned into becoming more of like a manager and starting to deal with RBE. You want to get into that topic?
So I went, while I was at home, I was pseudo. So while I was at home, I was going to most of SBR at that time. It was the full Southern Battle Rap movement, which was BC. It was BC. DFW was not really a part of this. So it was more so, if you look at it for face value, it was BC, Houston Barcode, I think Matrix Battle League at that time.
It kind of came after the fact. I think it was NOBL for sure.
NOBL for
sure.
Definitely.
Got bars.
Got bars, and then
I think there was a couple other leagues. I'm trying to remember now.
They were smaller. So I pretty much would take time to just go to everybody's cards. I've always been that type of person that's like, yo, I'm going everywhere. I didn't have a kid. I didn't have any real responsibility. I worked, and I have a really low maintenance life. So I had the money and had the means to be able to go wherever. So I started going to Houston cards, and then traveling to, as I got to know more people, I kind of just built family in different cities. So it was like, it wasn't just going for cards anymore. It was like going to visit family, which increased the want to go. So went to Houston, met Bjork and Boogie, and then I went to New Orleans for a few cards over the years, and got closer to my boys and was like, okay, I've always naturally been a person that if you are my friend, you're anybody close to me, if I see you want to do something and I believe in you, full tilt, 100% in. So once I had conversations with them and kind of saw where they wanted to go, where they had already been, I kind of a whiteboard in my brain to where I was like, okay, you're just missing this piece. You're missing this piece. Like we could plug and plop.
Right.
So that, and I always had an interest in developing talent. So this was my opportunity to really sit down and be like, okay, so if they did this, or if this person did this, creating different things like a dojo where each person has an individualized program of like, okay, you have an issue with this, or when you're rapping, you rap in front of your opponent and you go halfway around the circle that person, cut off the stage, doing different stuff like that, really being strategic. So I got to live through that, and within managing them, of course, I want to get them out as much as possible. So promotion game used to be crazy.
Right.
Was stupid. Damn near daily or at least weekly. But the common theme was I was going to everyone's card, showing love to everybody to a point to where I made genuine friendships that weren't just battle rap related. So genuine friendships to where I kind of started earning a name versus I was a known unknown. I still think I'm a known unknown because I'd rather be in the background. Met a lot of influential people, and pretty much if somebody needed something, I picked up the phone and was there. So managing was fun. Right. I started out with Boogie and Bjork at the same time. Some people think I started with one, but I started with both of them at the same time, and just kind of worked from Commerce, Texas, little country town, driving, going to whatever they were doing. Pretty much did that for 3 or 4 years, I believe. Got my boys from battling in SBR. They showed an interest. John showed an interest when Bullpen started, which I had already been in talks with them because John was trying to get a hold of Keyshawn Furlow and Street Hymns. Right. So that's when I started. That is the moment I noticed that, like, okay, not only when people want Dallas people, but if someone doesn't know how to reach out to someone, I was one of the first people, or I was in the collective of people that they would reach out to try to get a hold, try to get a line on people. So started becoming somewhat of a liaison. I was always tuned into radio stations and most of the media because they're the ones that are talking about it. And as a former club promoter, I knew that media ran everything. So you want to get in good with them, but also those people were just really good people. Some people weren't media yet that were just fans as well. But just kind of going through that cycle, I got to learn the difference between local, the SBR movement, which at that time was kind of dying off because leagues were getting larger and we just didn't have the connectivity that we used to have, which was really fun. If you were around during the SBR time, you know how amazing it was. But got to Bullpen, and Bullpen featured, it looked like a little mini SBR because it featured like people like the Moneys, the B. Erics, the Boogies.
Everybody already knew about it.
So you saw familiar faces, but you got a little taste of kind of East Coast people and all of the people we knew from Spit That Heat because we were traveling to go to Spit That Heat cards as well. So kind of went through those steps and got to see what it was like at, I would say, mid-tier at this time, level battle rap. Saw my boys go through their tryouts, was out there for every card if I could be. So saw them go for tryouts, built a rapport with John and his staff. And then that entire time I had been knowing Lawrence. And Lawrence is a really, really good friend, a mentor, like outside of battle rap and inside of battle rap, one of my really, really good friends. He had pretty much, at one point in time, me and him were road warriors. If it was going to Houston or going to anywhere else, all the way to Nashville. He flew into Nashville to go to a Renegade card. Me, him, and Wing were there. I think Wing lived in Memphis at the time. But we were, I would just drive to different cards. So me and him got super cool. And from there, we kind of just did the liaison thing as far as whenever he needed people or whenever something was coming up, creative thoughts. It was just brain building, I guess. Think tanking. So I guess from that you would see like the Lawrence would know who he would want on there, and either I had a tie to them or most of the time I took an active role in like, okay, if he wanted Swayze and he was like, yo, I think I'm gonna get Swayze on this, I would automatically call Swayze and be like, Swayze, you gotta be ready. Like, if this is what's going on, you need to have your fits. Swayze's dress game is crazy, but I automatically went into A&R mode. So for some years, it kind of just went like that. Whenever it was somebody that I knew going on to the platform, kind of vetting them, getting them ready. And for me, that's full service. So I would know that they were going on the card or being considered for it. And the only person I didn't do it for was Swayze. I would go, and if you look at the footage, you see me in the background of all the battles. But that's a common thing. If you look at a lot of old battles, you'll see me just there. But I would go with each person, and either I flew up there on my own and met them, or I would actually fly with them, like travel with them. Travel with them, and I was there with them pretty much through the whole stint. So getting your fits together, making sure that you have your material together before you touch the stage, anything that was needed on the day of, possibly going to the card, making sure you're good, everyone else is good, naturally an organizer, so if somebody needs anything, stepping in them spaces. That's when I got my real big taste of like the top tier artists and how they move, which sitting and talking to them and through my relationship with Lawrence as far as how cool we were and how like-minded we were business-wise, I was afforded the opportunity to be around like the Calicos and the Shoonies, to interview them and really just sit down. Anybody that knows me, I'll have a conversation with a wall if it's entertaining.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes? Okay, baby. Give me one moment. So I found myself in situations to where I was able to have those conversations and kind of brain pick. I never really came up to anyone on super fan, oh my gosh. So a lot of times they were really chill and disarmed and, hey, let's talk about it. Like, I remember one time we would all stay in the same hotels. So we went to the bar and Calico was sitting there, and I was like, yo, all right, so you had this battle. This is how I felt about it. How did you feel in that moment? Because, like, and it turned into many interviews and many opportunities just to pick people's brain and see, even at that level, where was their head? What is your day of game plan? Different stuff like that. So I did that for about a year or two. So like the Swayzes, the Chip Gambinos, the Crows, like pretty much during that whole stint when they were on there, I was in New York probably about 5 to 6 times, 4 to 5, or probably 6 times, for I think 2018, and really getting to see how leagues carry themselves day of, during the event, at face-offs, seeing face-offs and one-offs be done. Like I think it's Floss the Boss versus, I cannot think of that child's name, pardon me, but it was after the face-off, literally in the kitchen of the hotel. Like, I think it was Floss the Boss versus Nice. We all were in this itty bitty room against against a grate. I think that same card, we ended up, it was Cal and Ill Will, and they didn't battle. Yep, they didn't battle at the event. The event was in New York. They didn't battle in New York. We literally crossed over into New Jersey to the hotel that everyone was staying in. And they battled in the walkway of a parking garage. So getting to see and maneuver, I love the fact that I could help someone I was really, really cool with anything that I could have done, but it was also awesome because it was a trade out. So by being around this culture and being in this culture and being who I am, I think it afforded the opportunity to be able to see all levels from local to top tier and kind of pick their brains, as well as build a little program within myself of like, hey, yo, from this, a speaking piece too, that I've talked to people from the highest of high that we've watched since we were kids to I'm not even gonna say the lowest of low because nobody's there, but to the local level, and to be able to just speak from that, just from experience, and it's organic. It's not anything, I guess, crazy, but being able to speak from just organic travels was extremely dope and something I'm always super thankful for in life. But yeah, those.
And on that note, we're gonna take our little break. We're back, and we was on RBE.
Okay,
so what made you leave RBE, or y'all just had a arrangement that
for years I literally was just the best wingman in the world. So anything that was needed anywhere that I needed to be, cool, but a lot of it was just wingman life. But I ended up, what year was this? I moved back I was living in Little Rock for most of that time. I moved back to Dallas and started taking my career a little bit more seriously. In financial aid and in higher education, which meant that I was doing orientations, like my weekends and all of that was me taking up. And I don't like being unreliable or seeming unreliable. So I stopped doing pretty much everything. So I wasn't going to cards outside of Dallas anymore. Correct. I kind of slowed down and put my focus on my career and what I needed to do with that. Also entered into a relationship. So my attention was in different places. Ended up having a kid when the pandemic hit. So I literally took off work, not pregnant, came back with a whole kid. Blessed to do a pregnancy at home. But with all of that going on, battle rap kind of took a backseat to it. And by the time I came back, which was around when my daughter was 6 months to a year, I was a single mother, so I wasn't able to move around like I wanted to. So in a sense, I kind of went back to square one and I still had my friendships and I still had a lot of what people would call connections, but I still had all of my working digits out there to where when I got back into the culture, people immediately started, hey, this is what's going on. This is how people are moving and grooving. This is giving me the updates as far as where the culture has grown, because I hadn't paid attention to it for about 2 years.
Right.
Left my baby alone for 2 years. So coming back to it was really interesting. The dynamic and the climate of the culture had changed so much in that small amount of time. So it was all about relearning. The DFW Battle League at this time wasn't moving. SBR wasn't a unified front anymore. Mm-hmm. People were everywhere, which rightfully so, because people were growing, and it was a tremendous thing to see. But it was unfamiliar because I left where we were all unified and everybody was doing, and they were not at this point. So came back, learned the ropes again, and really just looked and said, who needs help? Who wants to do what? People were starting leagues. At that point, Boogie had been having Flatline Battlegrounds for a long time. I was there for their first event, so to come back and see that they had been doing amazing, which I still keep a watchful eye, but to see that they were doing amazing, and later for Bierk to start his league, I think it's Molded Battle League.
Shout out to Molded Battle League.
They're doing really well. They just had their year anniversary. Mm-hmm. So to come out and see my people moving and grooving, at one point in time before I left, I also had Will Majors, and to see him battling in bet on battles or battles with purses to later getting to RBE. Mm-hmm. It was just amazing to see and to catch up on. But most importantly, when I came back, I said I want my city and I want my state to really do something big. So my ties, I want to see who's local and who's doing what. Right. That kind of meant that I also bridged into Shreveport, because while I was in Little Rock, Shreveport was only an hour and a half away. Right. So I was there for Death Wish's infancy and went to almost all of their cards and got to see a difference of climate as far as their environment is totally different. Correct. So I was also coming with new views on some of the different areas I had been, and DFW was no longer going. Live from the Block was having an event, and I helped work with Oso on that, and it was pretty fun. I got to see a little bit. It was reminiscent of SBR. You saw people from Shreveport, you saw people from Houston. You also had big names like B Magic on it, mm-hmm. on that card, so it felt pretty familiar. But that was kind of a one-off. And then we got to 3-0. 3-0 in at the time, Styles Battle League. Ooh, Lord, Fifth Dimension.
Fifth Dimension. Yeah.
Fifth Dimension and 3-0 were the people who were throwing cards the most in Dallas. And Ant from 3-0 started doing cards in his house. Correct. Actually. So he had transitioned to actually doing battles in person live for the masses to come, which was an interesting take because it was against his original model, but it worked so well. It was working so well. So when I came back, those were the two that I focused on. How can I'm for sure going to go to every card that I can. How can I help? Is there anyone that you don't have any ties to, or is there any way that I can help in any way, pretty much? Which I've known for years, so came on and got on staff there and just had a comeback card probably a few months ago, mm-hmm. with the Saga versus Blaze. They branched out and had a Uno card, which was a card, two battles. They were one round, with Jay Huggins, who is affiliated with 3-0 now too. So having a 3-0 card in St. Louis was really big, working mm-hmm. up to possibly some city versus city type of energy, which I came back and we started to build something that was interesting with 3-0. To where you have people from different areas. So you've got Street Hymns, you've got Ant, you've got me, you've got Huggins. We all have our own specialties, and then we all have our specialties. We all pitch in a different way and make up for a really good staff. And to me, that's all you need to be able to run something beautifully. So 3-0 is doing really well. Fifth Dimension was doing really well. They were really big on bringing different people from different areas into Dallas. So we had Shreveport people, we had Houston people, Dallas people, and he was Styles, and I don't remember his partner's name. Don't kill me. But Mikey they were
Flash,
bringing
Mikey Flash.
Yes. So they were bringing in people from everywhere to come host, to come battle, and it was refreshing to see. It was dope. I think it's now Fifth Dimension, and then Styles is Mike is Fifth Dimension still, and Styles is 8-Ball Battle League.
It's 8-Ball Battle League. There's no longer a Fifth Dimension. I know the behind the scenes stuff. I'm not gonna get on it right now, but shout out to my dude Styles. But it's 8-Ball Battle League.
Yeah, another thing I do really well, I mind my business. So, there are some things I know, some things I don't necessarily. I kind of whatever y'all doing, let's run with it. Don't need details in life, but yeah. So eight ball battle league now, and he's still doing really good cards. He's got a card coming up on June 3rd with some great talent. He's doing something that's different too. I think Styles is battling 3 different people that night.
Correct. Like
so
$5,000 on the line.
Yeah. So I was heavy-handed with 3-0. I've always believed in Ant's mission from when he started out, and he had his own. He's a savant when it comes down to technical things. So he had his own website, running it with a subscription to where he was putting battles out and people could subscribe, and for a very small amount a month, you could go and watch all battles, and the battlers that were featured on it, they could subscribe to you, and then you would get
paid for that.
You would get paid for whatever subscribers you have monthly. So people were getting checks off of this. His biggest thing was finding out how to make it lucrative for artists. So to take that and see him going into the event lane, I had no choice but to be like, bro, I got you. Whatever you want to do, from anything I have in my arsenal, and I love research, so anything I could possibly research or get into to try to help. Let's go. We rocking. So meeting of the minds before the comeback card, we realized all of our strengths, what we could do, what we aren't quite there to do yet, and came up with a game plan and been rocking ever since. We've got a card next weekend.
Yes.
That is going to be monumental.
The
it's
Church
huge.
in the Wild card.
Yes.
Let's get into that.
So Church in the Wild, conceptually, Church in the Wild conceptually was Christians versus Dallas battle rappers. So when putting a card together, I don't know if many know this, but when putting a card together, it is a giant whiteboard and you have your main staple pieces. So it's what do we want to convey on this, and for this one, we wanted to bring down the 4 horsemen. On our staff is Street Hymns. We've seen him grow from the DFW time to where he is now. We recognize that they have a pretty strong movement, but they also did Poets in Autumn, which really showed their fan base and their force within their niche and their culture, as well as individually. They're crazy on their own in the battle culture. So at that point, they all hadn't been on the same card. I don't think ever. Yeah. So this is the first time that you have all 4 of the horsemen on the card, and then you have 2 additional Christian artists as well. So we had that foundational piece, and we wanted to see how you want to spin this. We want our city to shine. We want our people, our talent to get those looks and to have that first chance. So automatically went Christians versus Dallas artists. So who right now has the talent level? Who has the well-roundedness to be able to battle? Because you never want to set up an automatic body. Never want to set up a card full of, they're going to get killed. Like, you want it to be, whether it's a style clash, whether it's pin on pin, whether it's sleepers, whether it's, I know personally this person will write up for this. This will be a challenge. Nobody wants to feel like they're gonna die. So usually you get a little pressure cooker type of action with that too. So we ended up coming up with a solid amount of people to pick from. Chose battles. Unfortunately, 2 battles had to change over time. But I think what we have going and what will happen next Sunday is going to be amazing. Like, amazing. We've got Benji versus A-Ward. We've got Loso versus Lord. You might have to edit this one because I don't remember the card.
It's Loso versus
Hold on, we literally just went in.
No, because I know for sure it's Street Hymns versus Churchuko, because I'm coming out here to see that.
Yes.
We're coming out here to see that one. We're coming out here for the whole card, but that's the main battle I'm interested in because I'm a fan of Churchuko. He know that.
Yes.
Then there's the Saga versus Hero. Shout out to my guy Hero. That's going to be a good battle. And then there's Loso versus Benji.
So you've got Street Hymns versus Chuko. Great style clash.
Oh, it's Loso versus Young God ATM.
Yes. No. It's Loso versus Benji Reckless.
Right.
A-Ward versus Young God ATM.
Right.
The Saga versus Hero.
Yeah.
K-Jack versus Rax. Matt Cobbins versus Chaos.
Yeah.
At Creators Zone Guy, which is an amazing venue. An amazing venue. They used to have like a hangar. Now they have a office space, but when you walk into there, it's like, wait, what? They've got like 6 rooms.
I haven't seen the new venue. I saw the old venue last time I was here.
Yes, so they've got a cloud room, they've got a denim wall, they have a main area that has a boat in it, an actual large boat in it, Where when we went today, someone was DJing out of it, so that gives you kind of scope on the capacity of the boat in the room. But it's a really, really dope venue. I think it is Christian friendly, but I also think it gives you the artistic difference and kind of ruggedness of battle rap as well. So it's a unique, beautiful venue that will work. Amazing parking too for this business side. But the card is dope. I think every matchup, even with any of the changes, every matchup literally is either a style clash, a born and bred goodie, or something that's like, okay, I may not know too much about these people, but they are fire. It's going to be a fire matchup because you know at least enough to know that they're talented enough to be on this.
So where do you see the culture of battle rap going, or where you're trying to push it to, as far as the Dallas scene, or where you're trying to push your people to?
First and foremost, this is going to sound really horrible because Dallas battle rap has been alive and well for over 12 years. Mm-hmm. However, there are still people that don't know that there's a battle league in Dallas. There are people every day in the URL comments, oh, we need to have something like this in Dallas. What? You do have something like this in Dallas. So first and foremost, regardless of who I'm working with, independently and as a whole, I think the idea is to make it to where it's common knowledge. Battle rap, this form of hip hop is common knowledge. If you want to do it, if you want to try, if you want to just be in the atmosphere of it all, it's here. So making sure it is a household topic, something that everyone is aware of in the city as an option to entertain yourself. And then outside of that, just continuing to see people grow. Like there are people right now, I don't have artists that are solely for me. So I have quite a few people around me that I know are hungry, that have all of the makings to be great. And for me, it's just whatever I can do to push people forward so that they're always progressing. Versus some people getting ruts of like taking battles that are just battles. Right. Or people are throwing way too many cards, or just little stuff that can be easily avoided. I hope that we refine some of our thought processes and really get this city rocking like it should be. Honestly. But yeah, so as a culture, I wanted to keep progressing. I wanted to get larger. I want it to be something that everyone knows and is aware of, and to see the cycle go. Like, it's cool to have old vets that are fire, but I want to have some new people too. Like, I want to look back and say, okay, we had different classes of people that came with their own type of energy. They brought in different crowds. I want to see a progression and a consistency that I know that we can have. It's just getting everybody on the same page and focusing on it. And that being a priority, because if it was, everybody would see benefits off of it. And no beefs, which there are no beefs anymore. There isn't a DFW Battle League, but even before it was dissolved, there was no Live from the Block and DFW Battle League beef anymore. So I would love for everyone to get along. Honestly, if you could make what we had in the SBR movement time, when everybody was just supporting everybody's cards and pushing each other, and the promo was crazy, and the amount of creativity that went into everything outside of the battle and within the battle, if we could do that on a grand scale and keep it going, yeah.
Honestly, I think we're getting back to
that.
Back to doing that. I can honestly say that I've seen the difference this year alone. I can see it that it's going in that direction. It's getting back to the unified front.
Definitely.
Everybody supporting people, not making sure they're not throwing cards when they have cards. Like I appreciate Ant and Silverback because they knew about my card and they actually pushed their card back a day. And I had to tell them about Kia's card because they were trying to go the week before, and I was like, no, Kia got a card on the 20th. So I'm like, I always just gotta talk to the owners, make sure we're not bumping heads, and just let everybody get their chance to shine. And I think once we do that, then we all can work as a collective. But we're getting back to the unified front, though. I really do see that coming.
Yeah, I think those are the small things that people tend to forget that makes it beautiful. Because if you can make a weekend out of something, that's amazing. Not having to make people choose between others is always going to be beautiful. But I definitely can agree with that, because there are so many times that I see like people from Austin going to Houston, people from Houston going to Austin, or people from Dallas going to Austin. Like just the other day, Aunt was like, "We need to go to Kia's card," and I'm like, "Okay, see if I can get a babysitter. We can go." But like seeing people from different areas, because I've been to the Death Wish, I haven't been to Culture yet. I have to get to the Culture. I think I'm gonna go in July. June 17th,
I will be there. BattleNites will be there.
So I've got to get out there, but just seeing it come back to what I loved. Everybody likes to talk about how Mook and Lux and them are stuck in the barbershop days. Well, nigga, if those are the best days, then hey, so for us, my best days was when I could see family from Houston and Austin, or see them in Dallas, or see them in different places, New Orleans, because we were making weekends out of those things.
Yes,
like it was one big family, and we was tearing up every city we was in. That is ideally what I would want it to get back to, with artists also doing really well, to where we have better matchups we can put on. We have better eyes on us too, because the South is something crazy. And people forget that. People sleep on us. For a moment, people were running down here to try to get battles and trying to get exposure. So I wanted to get back to a space to where the South has eyes on it again. And it's not just the South of like, no offense, but Richmond or Atlanta, those places are cool. They pop. Cool. But like, yeah, you're not the South. Like the real South. We dirty. We down here. Yeah. Nah. So I want to see it get back to the prestige it once had. And I know that we can. And we've got an eclectic group and a lot of leagues that are really strong. Like the Culture, BC, like a lot of leagues that have been around, and a lot of leagues that are newer but still forces to be reckoned with, that are good business people. With amazing talent, to where, I still put my money on, if I would say Texas and Louisiana, if we all wanted to come and do league versus league, those cards would be crazy. Oh yeah. If we wanted to do tournaments with people having teams, those cards would be crazy. It would be entertaining. I love the idea that we could, as much as we love URL, even RBE and his family, and KOTD, even though those are options, I love the fact that that Southern Battle Rap has always been able to just stand on its own and still be a force. Still be a force to still catch eyes, as if we were those larger leagues. So, which you probably see that the most for people that are not oriented with the South. You'll see that with Home and Nome. Nome started coming down to Houston, and then Houston Barcode started doing their home, kind of not piggybacking because they come first, but bridged off of that, to where it gave even normal people the ability to be in a room with a Sue Surf or a Smack, or people of those calibers that they may not be able to in regular life, even with going to a Nome, because you're still in the crowd with thousands of people. I think that should be a testament that you came to Houston. It wasn't just a venue. You came to Houston and recognized that there are other things in motion there, and respected it and included it, which is big, because if you think about URL steamrolls people all the time. So for them to be inclusive of the Southern Battle Rap culture, it was amazing, and didn't necessarily siphon from it, because they could have came down here and be like, "Oh, give me," and then threw it right to the wayside. But very collaborative in that effort. So there's something there, definitely something there.
All right, Suge, I appreciate you for coming to do the interview. Obviously, y'all can see she's a very busy lady. You know what I'm saying? I was just so glad we was able to get these interviews so y'all can actually get the face behind the unknown, of people that's actually making things move around in the background. You know? So, I appreciate you, Suge, and thank you for coming on BattleNites.